And we're back. I was so proud of myself because I kept up with these vlog posts for the last 3 weeks of tax season, and then I must have picked up COVID or the flu or something from somewhere, and I got through the filing deadline, and then I was down for the count for like 3 weeks. I army crawled my way through finals for law school, and then got some antibiotics, and I've finally gotten enough rest and gotten back to where I can actually talk again for longer than 5 minutes without coughing. So it's been a long process, but I'm really glad to be back to feeling like normal. I finally went for a jog last night for the first time in like a month, and didn't die. I was very slow though. My running speed, I think I shaved like a minute off my time, and now I'm back to where I started, but I'll get back to where I'm supposed to be eventually. But yeah, it was tax season and law school in one semester was interesting. I think that's probably why I got so sick, is because it was a lot. It was very stressful, a lot of time commitments, but I got through it, and I learned a lot of lessons, and stuff that I'm going to carry out throughout the rest of the year. I really liked how smooth this tax season was, despite being in law school and having classes and midterms and finals and all of that stuff. It was a very smooth tax season, and that was because it was me working with clients who I had been working with all year, so I didn't have a whole lot of surprises. It wasn't a lot of people coming to me and me having to clean up their books. I actually, like the last week of tax season, most of my clients I was finished with, I had like a couple of people who I knew I'd have to go on extension for, because a lot of my clients are in Kentucky, and because of the flooding and the bad weather that's been there, there's been several people that I've had to extend just because they're dealing with, rebuilding their homes and whatnot. So yeah, there was like a week there where I was like, I don't really have anything to do, and I had a couple people reach out to me and were like, can you take up this taxpayer last minute? And I was like, sure, why not? So I got those taxes done. But yeah, it despite everything I had going on, it really went rather well. So I think I'm gonna stick to that and try and focus on small business owners who need bookkeeping and will work with me throughout the year, just so that we can make sure we stay on top of things and there aren't any surprises at the end of tax season. So if you're keeping up with the homemade dog food saga, Sidonia is still refusing to eat any food that I don't make myself. So one of the kind of good things about getting sick was I was waiting for my prescription to be refilled at Costco. I'm asthmatic, and anytime I get any kind of like upper respiratory anything, I usually have to use my inhaler. Well, mine was very old and kind of low, so I was waiting for them to refill that. And there was this place across the street called Just Food for Dogs, and my vet had recommended checking it out because I was concerned that the food that I was making didn't have all the vitamins and nutrients that they need. And it was a really cool shop. They bulk, like batch make the food and freeze it, and you can serve it to your dogs like that. Of course, Sidonia wouldn't eat the frozen stuff. I got some of the frozen stuff just to see if maybe she'd cut me a break, and no. So, but they actually have like a little packet of, it's like the vitamin mix that you need to mix into the food to make sure it has all of the nutrients that they need. And it's really cool because you get the little packet and you scan the QR code and it tells you exactly what you need to buy. So I went to Kroger. Well, here it's called Ralph's. Yeah. The West Coast version of Kroger is Ralph's. And so I went to Ralph's, picked up all the stuff I needed, made like a month's worth of food in one afternoon. And so far it's been going really well. It's a turkey and macaroni and cheese was the first recipe of theirs that I did. And the packet that you buy makes like a lot of food. So I think I'll probably get as much of that done as possible. But they have other recipes. They had beef, fish, There was a venison recipe, but I don't know how easy it would be to get venison in California. I mean, in Kentucky, I'd just call one of my neighbors or something like that, or have my brother-in-law give me some deer meat or whatever. But out here, I mean, feel free to correct me in the comments, but I don't actually know if there are deer in California, like, or at least not in Southern California. I haven't seen any, whereas, like, I mean, even in downtown Louisville, you'd see a deer every once in a while. I haven't seen one out here, though. I've seen coyotes and owls and stuff, but I don't know how common deer are this far south in the desert. So, but if you know of where I can find venison near San Diego, please let me know, because I'd be interested to try the recipe at home. I bought some of the frozen stuff, and Rose loved it, but Sidonia was like, it's frozen, so, you know, it's not good enough for me. Also, on her princess game, Sidonia was having this weird thing where every time she yawned, she would gag. And so we had gone to the vet, and I told them about this weird thing she was doing. I was like, I'm not super concerned. She doesn't throw up whenever she does it. She'll yawn, and it's almost like she yawns too wide, and she would gag. And so I was like, is this the craziest thing I've ever seen? I've grown up with dogs. I had 2 dogs before I got Rose and Sidonia. I've never seen a dog do this before. And so they have an in-house chiropractor, and they were like, maybe you should see if there's something going on. Maybe she's got something out of alignment. So we have been on Monday mornings going and getting a chiropractic adjustment, which for a dog, they don't actually, at least my chiropractor for her does not actually like pop or like crack her neck or anything. It's more of like massages, and you can actually adjust them just by brushing them. You just have to brush them in the right motion and stuff. But yeah, so my 110-pound Great Pyrenees now has to go to the chiropractor once a week to get the adjustment. The gagging has gone away, which has been really nice, but it's just kind of funny. It's like another thing that I'm spending more money on her than myself, because my chiropractor appointments are like, I think $70 a pop, and hers are like $100, and I'm like, come on, man. And the really funny thing is she's okay with like the brushing and the adjustments and stuff, but whenever he gets out like the massager, or the there's like a thing that pops to kind of adjust her muscles. When he gets those out, she climbs into my lap and wants to sit in my lap for the rest of the appointment. It's just kind of hilarious, because she almost weighs as much as I do. And she's like sitting in my lap like, Mom, I'm just a baby. Please hold me. So anyway, the things that we do for our fur babies. I also got a Mother's Day card from Sidonia, from my groomer, Aussie Pet Mobile. If you are in the Carlsbad, like North County area, I highly recommend Aussie Pet Mobile. They come to your house, they load your dog up in the van. They do a fantastic job with grooming Sidonia. And I mean, they send you pictures throughout, which is, I'm a helicopter dog mom, so it's always a little nerve-wracking when I drop her off at a groomer's. I'm like, are they like beating her back there? Like, I don't know. You have no idea what they're doing with your dog because you're not there. But with them, they'll actually take pictures throughout and stuff. Like the first time they groomed her, it took a while. And so he like took a bunch of pictures and was like, she's still doing okay. And I'm like, okay. Even though she's like 10 feet away from me, I'm still like a little nervous, but it was nice that they did that. For those of you who don't know, who just kind of like randomly stumbled upon this, my mom had actually passed away when I was 9, so, and her ashes were sprinkled in the Pacific Ocean. She wanted her ashes sprinkled off of the South Jetty up in Oregon. And so my dream had always been to get to spend Mother's Day on the West Coast so that I could be like close to her final resting spot. So me and the dogs packed up and went to Coronado Dog Beach and just spent a couple hours on the beach, and it was it was honestly the first year that I didn't get super emotional on Mother's Day. I wasn't like crying or anything. It was just kind of fun and relaxing. And honestly, I think it was more of a, if I got emotional, it was more of like, I'm just so grateful to have these two awesome dogs that like love me and then I get to like spoil the crap out of, you know? So that was really cool. And my friends know it's not like the easiest day for me. So a lot of them had like texted me and checked in and was like, how are you holding up? And I was like, honestly, like, this is probably the best Mother's Day I've had in a while because I got to spend it doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I got to spend it with my babies. And, things have just been going like super well. Other than getting horrendously sick, things have been great. Tax season went well. I feel like I'm starting to kind of get my footing with law school. And just being out in California has been really great for my mental health. Like, the people that I've met out here have been so supportive and fantastic. My business has been growing really well. This isn't like a diss on Kentucky. There was just kind of this there wasn't a whole lot of support for small business owners or entrepreneurs or even solo firm owners. I was pretty involved with the KYCPA back home, especially with the efforts of like trying to get more people interested in becoming CPAs. But I would go to some events and stuff, and in the first question people would ask is like, what firm do you work for? And I would say my own, and there was always kind of this vibe of like, oh, I guess you weren't good enough to get hired at like Ernst & Young or KPMG or something like that. And it's like, I don't think it's like a situation of like, oh, I started my own firm at 35 and that makes me better. I also don't think it's like, oh, you work at Ernst & Young and that makes you a better CPA. I think it's more of just what are you the most comfortable with? Do you want a 9-to-5 job that you can count on your paycheck? Or do you want to grow and expand and have control over your business and whatever your income is? And my path, what I like is knowing like I have total control over what I want to do. Nobody tells me what to do except for me. And yeah, I mean, even my clients, like I do my best to meet their needs, but if they want me to do stuff that I'm not comfortable with, then I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't think we're a good fit for each other and you should probably go find somebody else. And that really is just, it's just, it really fits in with how I like to live my life. Being able to work from home, being able to work whenever hours I want, and being able to work on things that really interest me and feed my soul. And speaking of things that feed my soul, I finally announced that I will be launching the tax coaching training at the end of this month. I've started working on it. While I was sick, I worked a lot on that because I couldn't really do much else. I was kind of bedridden for 3 weeks, which was a little bit helpful because I was stuck in bed and not going out and hanging out with my friends and stuff. And so that is launching at the end of this month, May 30th. I will be hosting a webinar that kind of talks a little bit more about that. It's going to teach you about different tax strategies that, every small business owner can use. It's not, I think there's kind of this idea of like tax planning is really only available to the uber rich. And I mean, everybody needs tax planning unless you just have like a basic W-2 job. If you own a business, like you should be planning for, how do I lower my tax bill? How do I reinvest into my business? How do I make the right kind of investment so I can retire comfortably? Like things of that nature are stuff that you should be talking to your CPA about, and you should be talking to them about it as soon as you're able to. So May 30th at 10 p.m. May 30th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So that's 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll be doing a 1.5 hour long webinar about that. I'll try and link the information into the, comment or whatever. And then so it's going to be an hour and a half of just me kind of talking to you about the different tax strategies that I use. We use for my clients all the time. And then there will be a Q&A afterwards, and I'll also have some discounts available for, as kind of a thank you for showing up to the webinar and supporting my business. I'll have some discounts available for anybody who's interested in the services we currently have, and then the stuff that's coming up with the tax trainings that will be available. So I'm very excited about that. It's terrifying. I've spent all day having like a little mini panic attack because I don't know a whole lot of people who do this, who choose this path, who are like, I'm just going to give you all of my knowledge for less than what I would charge you if I just did it myself. But there's this one song that I really like called Daydream, and the chorus, it says, don't give up on your daydream. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. And so I'm kind of like, every time I start to panic, I'm like, this is a good sign, because it means that I'm doing something that is really important to me, and it's part of my dream. And as I've been like creating the tax training, I've put a lot of my heart into it. Like I've almost kind of started thinking of it as like a love letter to small business owners of, this is everything that not only did I wish I had known whenever I started my business, but everything that I try to just dump into my clients whenever I first start working for them, because I want them to be successful. I want to set them up for success. And I wish I could do it for everybody. I can't, because I'm just me. But hopefully this is my attempt at trying to provide that service for as many people as possible and make that impact that just I so crave in my life, to be able to know somebody out there is going to do this training and set their business up the right way and be able to maintain compliance until they're big enough, until their business grows to the point where they can then come to me and say, okay, now I can afford to have you do all of the things and make my business grow even more and expand and touch more lives. And it's just kind of this ripple effect of, I help you, you help more people, they help more people, everybody wins. And it kind of, I think that's why I love California so much, is because there is this culture of collaboration, of people helping each other and supporting one another. And it'll be really nice to be able to, expand on that and, have a reach outside of California, maybe even outside of the United States. You never know. When I lived in Kentucky, I was doing a lot of small business setups, and I was going and talking at different speaking engagements or getting asked to talk on certain panels and stuff. And I noticed that I was getting asked a lot of the same questions, and it dawned on me. I was like, if we could take all of these answers, if I could take this knowledge and put it in a place where people can access it and kind of train themselves to know, like, okay, these are the things that I need to get started. This is what I need to get set up to set myself up for success. This is what I need to do to make sure that my taxes aren't a mess at the end of the year. This is how I pay into estimates, things of that nature. So if we could put all of that information into one place, then instead of me like meeting with people on a regular basis and answering the same 10 to 15 questions that I get every time, I could have more time to focus on the really fun stuff, which is like strategy, planning, like the high level stuff that really takes a lot of like research and thinking. Not that I don't like meeting with my clients. I love talking to my clients. It's probably my favorite part of my job. But I really like being able to use my brain and get creative with tax strategies. And hopefully this will free me up to do more of that, especially since we're going to need it. I mean, the big tax bill that Trump had promised whenever he was campaigning is finally like making its way through the legislature. It was paused for a minute because they couldn't figure out how they were going to pay for it, but it looks like they're finally starting that process. And it looks like it's gonna have over 100 new laws just from one bill. Over 100 new laws. So we're going to be busy in the tax planning and tax preparation field. A lot of it is just extensions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So it's not going to be, a lot of it is just going to be an extension of like the, the doubled standard deduction, the elimination of the 2% miscellaneous itemized deductions. They're going to expand on the 199A deduction, which is the qualified business income deduction. That one's kind of fun. If you want to nerd out for a minute, I actually was working on a client's taxes today, not his taxes, but like his estimates. And I was originally, he's an S Corp owner. And so as an S corporation, he has to take he has to take reasonable compensation. And so I was trying to work out, because it's like you don't want to lower the S Corp income too much, because then they don't get the benefit of paying the corporate tax rate on the S Corp income. But the other thing that I had to think about is the QBI deduction. The more income the business has, the higher his deduction for qualified business income. And so originally I was like, oh, the IRS looks more favorably on withholding, so we'll just increase your withholding to offset your taxes at the end of the year. But then looking at the QBI deduction, I was like, well, actually it saves you more money if we just make an estimated tax payment. Which I thought was cool. So the fact that they're expanding that is kind of interesting. I really wonder, because initially when they came out with this, specialized service industries are not qualified. So like doctors, architects, there were like certain people who were plucked out, of course, accountants. They were not eligible for the QBI deduction. So I wonder if they're going to expand it to include us in the specialized service industry as well. That would be kind of nice. They're getting rid of the electric vehicle tax credits, which isn't a surprise. We all knew that was going to happen. And then they are discussing an itemized deduction for car loan interest, which is kind of cool. As somebody who has never been able to buy a car outright and has always had to have a car payment, that would be kind of nice to. It probably won't be, and it still probably won't be enough to itemize, but for some people who have multiple vehicles with multiple loans, that would be kind of cool. Looks like they are increasing bonus depreciation, which accountants were literally begging for. They might be, it hasn't passed yet, but they might be increasing bonus depreciation to 100% for property placed in service after January 19th of 2025. Is that not the most random day to choose? I guess that was the inauguration day, maybe. I don't know for certain, but that's different. They're increasing the child tax credit to $2,500 possibly from 2025 to 2028. I don't know why they've been passing laws like that. Like normally you pass a law and it's like, this is just the law and forever, but now they all have expiration dates, which oddly enough are at the end of the president's term. It looks like there's a lot of new tax changes coming down the pipeline. This is part of the reason I wanted to go to law school too, is there's just been so many changes in the last, since I've been doing taxes. I started doing taxes in 2017, so I had like 1 year of normal tax returns, or of just the tax returns the crazy thing about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is it was the most massive change in taxes since before I was born. So up until I came, from the day I was born until I started doing taxes, it was always the same. So I started doing taxes probably early 30s. I think it was like 32 or something like that. So we're almost, for over 30 years, taxes were the same. You had your standard deduction, some people itemized, you had personal exemptions, you didn't have the QBI deduction, and then I start doing taxes and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act gets passed, and all of a sudden it's just like changes out the wazoo. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. The great debate for a while was, if the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act gets extended, is a C corporation going to be a more beneficial tax election for some people? I mean, there are certain industries that can't become a C corporation. My industry is one of them. Doctors, lawyers, for the most part, you can't become a C corporation. There's some exceptions to that rule. But a lot of people shy away from the C corporation because they're like, you get taxed on the business income and on the dividends that you take out of the business. So there's the double taxation of the income that a lot of people are nervous about. However, depending on how this pans out, it might actually still save you money depending on how much your business income is and what other things you have going on. The only thing that I'm hesitant to go to my clients and say, you should all become C corporations. I mean, one, the upkeep is very expensive. You have to have a board of directors. You have to have meeting minutes. Sometimes you can get law firms to do the meeting minutes for you for a pretty low fee. It just kind of depends. But it also looks like, even though they are extending the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, because it was supposed to sunset at the end of 2025, now they're extending it, but they're only extending it to 2028. So after that, like, what are we going to do? So it's going to be an interesting few years. We'll see what happens, but I am, however, cautiously optimistic. I'm just an optimistic person in general, like almost disgustingly optimistic, because I've been through a lot. I've survived a lot. And in the back of my mind, I mean, this is going to sound kind of conceited, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I did not go through all of that for me to not have a good life, you know? But I am cautiously optimistic that despite all of the tax changes, and, you know, trying to run a small business in kind of a chaotic economy, I am cautiously optimistic that some of the ideas that I have and some of the things that I put in place are not only going to benefit small business owners, not only going to benefit my clients, but hopefully benefit myself as well, and allow me to continue spoiling the crap out of my pets. So thank you for listening to the Taxes and Treats podcast, where I talk about tax law and toss in some fun treats along the way. I will probably continue to keep you all posted on what's going on with the tax coaching thing, and what's going on with this homemade dog food adventure that Sidonia is now dragging me through, kicking and screaming. You would think, here's my one mini rant. I love this dog with my entire heart, but I was so sick for 3 weeks, and she did not care at all. She was like, I'm still not going to eat dry kibble. You get your sick butt up and you make me turkey and carrots, please. Like the little diva that she is. Like, if I ever had a moment where I really felt like a mom, that was it. Because every mom I talked to her, like, you don't get sick days. You just have to, like, be sick and keep taking care of your kids. And that's how I felt. Was like, I felt miserable. And I couldn't hardly eat because I was so sick, but I was still making food for her. So I will continue to rant about that at the end of every one of these blog posts. But yeah, this has been fun. I'm glad we're back. I'm glad things are getting back to normal, and I'm looking forward to an interesting rest of the year.